So welcome. I'm Karen Archibee. I'm an academic planning coordinator with SUNY Oswego in the Division of Extended Learning, and I'm presenting tonight with Laura, who is here from the library. So I'd love Laura to introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Laura Harris. I am the Web Services and Distance Learning Librarian at Penfield Library. So
we also have colleagues here too from different support offices on campus. So I'd love if you guys want to introduce yourselves, you're more than welcome. Maggie?
Okay, yes, so I'm Maggie Rivera. I'm from the Office of the Dean of Students for Student Outreach and Support.
Hi, I'm Tori. I'm the grad assistant in the Office of the Dean of Students. I work with Maggie.
Tonight we are talking about virtual study halls and body doubling. And so Laura, I don't know, I loved your story about like how you kind of learned about this. And if you want to start us off, the first slide is yours anyway. So if you can take the lead.
So in preparation for this, one of the things I did was read an article, and you can see it's cited here, and the title is "It Was Something I Naturally Found Worked and Heard About Later." And that was really my experience. I am kind of a messy person, and my mom is kind of a tidy person, and she has helped me clean up a lot. And she commented at some point to me that I seem to have an easier time cleaning when she's there. And I thought, oh yeah, and that sort of concept stuck with me. And I think it was only a few months after that that I learned the concept of body doubling, which is basically what that is. So the definition from this article I found is that body doubling is using the presence of someone either in the same room, online, or via media to help start, work on, or accomplish a task. And the image on the right is actually the image on the right side of the slide is basically, it is from a zine that is mentioned in this article here. So if you're interested in, but I really liked this image and I thought it kind of described these different continuums of body doubling. So body doubling can be something that you do either online or when you're actually physically in the same space. So I was mentioning my example, when my mom is physically there, it helps me. But another example with my mom, in case you can't tell, I'm close to my mom, is I don't like doing laundry. And so when I'm putting away laundry, I often call her. So that's kind of the other end, she's over in Indiana and I'm here in New York. So we're together on the phone or online as opposed to actually physically being in the same space. So that's one sort of axis of body doubling. The other is, both of those examples I gave you are things that are happening live. I would be talking to my mom either in person or, over the phone or over FaceTime or something. But there's also this concept of using what they're saying media. So you can do something like there's actually a lot of body doubling on YouTube where like they will call it body doubling and the concept I'm thinking of is like verb with me. And so some examples would be study with me, clean with me, fold laundry with me. So the person is like doing the task and, it's kind of meant to inspire, and you can do the same thing at the same time and feel like someone is doing that with you, even if you're not in the same, even if it's not happening at the same time. And then the last axis is what they call mutuality, where you're doing it with someone who like for me, with my mom. And what they found in the article, I think, was actually that most people do tend to body double with friends. I think friends was the most common, then family. And then strangers a little bit less so. But the other sort of side of this continuum is like when you might go to a coffee shop You know, I think a lot of people go to a coffee shop or a library because of the atmosphere, you know, and that atmosphere being, you know, people like in a library, other people are studying, working on that assignment. So you kind of have that sense that other people are working and, you know, sort of in the same mindset as you. You may not actually know anybody, you know, who's at the table next to you, or, you know, you may be there by yourself and not necessarily know anybody, but you still have that sort of vibe or atmosphere of the place. So these are all sort of mentions in this article and different kind of examples of body doubling. And I really found like thinking about it in those 3 different ways to be really helpful. So, you know, I'm going to talk about the last bullet first. One of the things, like I said, you can go on YouTube, search for body doubling, search for Clean with Me, Study with Me, whatever it is that you'd like. But there are also some websites for live body doubling. And we can look at the first one. Most of these are free. There are some other free options. I mean, with the kind of software that we have these days, you know, everybody at Oswego has a Zoom account. You know, you can certainly do your own thing and create, you know, a Zoom room, invite your friends, family, whatever works for you. But there are also these options. This is Study Stream. And Karen and I were looking at this the other day. So you can see all these people are actually here. You know, this is actually live. And they have little headings about like what they're doing, or just, you know, things they want to say. But like person in the second row, in the first column, they're probably an education major. They're doing, you know, some work related to that. Teacher training. Person to the right is studying for a medical residency access exam. So you can get the sense of what other people are doing. And you can see most of them are like sitting in front of their computer working. So this is just a free option that's available. Like I said, if you don't want to meet with strangers, you can certainly set up your own thing. We have so many technological options. Really, body doubling. One thing I took away from the article is that it really should not be something you have to shell out a lot of money for, just because there are so many different ways to do it. And some of them are not technological. You know, you live at home, you know, sit down with a sibling or your parent or something, go to a coffee shop. None of these things cost money. So
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to pay for something to do this. I mean, there are services where you can get, you know, extras, but there should not be a price barrier here.
Right.
And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Karen, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. I like this one down here where he's got the Pomodoro clock. So you can kind of use that as help too, like if people have things in their background. Going back to the other ones, the Study Together, the Focus Mate. When Laura and I were chatting about this presentation, I had no idea that these things existed. So I even learned a lot. Was always familiar with YouTube because during COVID, I was home managing 2 kids doing their virtual learning, working full time. And I was wondering how other moms were doing it. And so I started just YouTubing, like managing a home in COVID. And all these things came up, and that's how I learned about body doubling, was more so for the moral support of like being in it together. So I would turn on their videos of them cleaning, you know, clean with me, and they chat away and talk to you about life and stuff, and you work alongside them. And I found it to be really helpful for productivity. So the next thing that we were chatting about, right? Yes. Was these more Oswego specific options, kind of body doubling, also called parallel working, because body doubling has such a funny sound to it, but parallel working, which is similar to parallel play that we did as kids, where we'd sit next to other kids and play, but we actually wouldn't interact. So it's really interesting that as adults, we still use these modes of learning and, you know, doing activities. But it's just a different name. So body doubling can be used in a virtual study hall setting. So we've been talking about doing this in our division of extended learning work with our online students. So right now we wanted to use tonight's session to sort of just put it out there and also try to get feedback from people that end up watching the video. But we've been talking about offering these on Zoom for no more than 2 hours, offering breakout rooms for specific majors. So if a couple people come in and they're working in the same class or they're in the same major, at least we can put them in a breakout room so they could talk if they wanted, or they may just want to work with their camera on. We were thinking that we would want to offer them on different days of the week and also different times, since we know that some folks aren't available to work on stuff right away at 5 o'clock, but 8 o'clock, they are really getting into work mode. And so that was something that we'd really want to try to be conscious of in different time zones as well. And then also we wanted to start a conversation about encouraging students to have their own. Perhaps a student in their class has a couple classmates that they feel like connected to offer a Zoom link where people can come from the class and just work together. And I tell a lot of my online students, you know, like to have a designated time where you can tell your family, I have to go be in this meeting, so I need to focus on that meeting. I can't be interrupted. It's a great way to kind of separate yourself from the roles at night that a lot of people play with being parents or caretakers or, you know, working. So it can be nice to have that designated break where if you know you have to go somewhere and focus on a virtual study hall, and they think you're in a meeting, and you are for all intents and purposes, but you're actually not talking very much. So some benefits that I was reading about, really has been proven. There's lots of other colleges that are doing this where there's sponsored events, especially with adult learners. And so they found that it increases the likelihood of completing coursework. If you are in a virtual study hall or you're in this body doubling site, you're more likely to stay focused because you might have your camera on. Other people are staying focused, so it gives you some accountability and some motivation. The positive peer pressure of having that camera on and knowing that people can see you, so you need to stay focused. So that can also be really helpful, where if you're working by yourself, it's like, who's gonna know if you take a 20-minute break that ends up lasting 30 or 40 minutes, you know? So it's nice that people would be able to kind of keep you in check as well. Students who engage with study halls are more likely to persist because they have that connection. They have that place where they feel like they are with other people, because being online can be very lonely. There is a whole idea out there of lonely learning, which shows the studies that a lot of times people learning online can really feel very alone and isolated. So this can really help with those connections, and just like it says, increasing feeling of community and belonging. There's a lot of discussion too around virtual study halls and body doubling with neurodivergent folks, but all in all, I think it's a great way for any type of student to be able to get that focus with community. So the quote was just from one of the articles I was reading about. And much like Laura mentioned earlier with the article that she had found the title where they were doing it, but they didn't even know what it was called. And so this just gives it a great name and a great reason to do this activity. Because it is very much worth the time and energy. So I think it's a great thing that we could do with Oswego. So this is just our information. Of course, these sessions are meant to be short and digestible. So I wanted to make sure we provided our contact information that anyone might want to reach out with either questions or maybe more resources you'd like, or maybe you have ideas or you want to be like a student mentor type person that would want to open a Zoom room for your class. We could talk about how that might work, what you might like to do. Do you want someone like me in the room to kind of help facilitate? So I just wanted to provide the contact information for everyone. So I'm going to stop sharing. And then I know this was a quick one, but we also had some questions from people that couldn't attend, but did sign up. So I know there was some questions about resources, online resources for these types of things. So I think the presentation that Laura gave with the links works really well. I also always recommend to students, there's lots of videos on our advising website, the Advising Center website, about all different areas of learning and how to manage time and how to even organize your email, because that can be a struggle for folks. So you can always use those resources as well that aren't necessarily related to this, but can be super helpful. Maggie or Laura or Tori, if you have anything you want to add from your perspective, I feel like the more the better.
I like that there's a name for the term because not necessarily people in real time, but I find that not necessarily like schoolwork, but if I need to clean my room or do other tasks, I put TV on or like YouTube on in the background of like people talking, interacting, and I am always more productive when I'm doing that, and I didn't realize it was like a reason for it. But I think that's a really good idea to do one through Oswego specifically because I like the anonymity. Sorry, I don't know if I said that right. Of doing like the site that you showed us is nice because you don't have like an attachment to people, but others might really like that there are peers that maybe they've passed going to class or something, maybe like a sense of familiarity. So I think that would be nice to implement and then have students kind of like facilitate the different rooms. But I think it would be really good for someone like you to start off the sessions and then everyone breaks off and like continues on their own throughout the day or a couple hours or whatever it is.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I really love that idea also. And I think, like the idea of the breakout sessions and the rooms and maybe thinking about there are people that like to be in a room with a lot of people or smaller groups. So the breakout rooms some could be, larger, so could be smaller, depending on, how people react to that environment. But the breakout session rooms, I think would be great.
Yeah, I think it would be nice too to I don't know how it would work with separating it by major, but it would be really cool if you weren't necessarily like immediately directed into what your major was. Maybe there's different rooms like technology, art, XYZ majors, and you can choose which one to go into. You can like ask people questions. So I think that would be really good to be able to give them the choice what kind of like room they'd want to be in too.
Yeah, I agree. I was reading that virtual study halls work best when you keep it small. Because then that way it's not overwhelming and you can have those small conversations. 12 to 15 is what it said. So that's why I thought about the breakout rooms, because if you were to have more people, you could kind of subset people off or just even randomly put people together. But yeah, that's one thing we've talked about a lot with online learners is just how much they're alone and they're going down through their classes all by themselves, and it's hard to feel that connection. So maybe this would help. And so some schools talked about how they have mentors where they have online students that sign up to be kind of a mentor. I don't know if it's paid or an internship or what, but they run the rooms, and that way there's a student leader aspect to it without the staff involved. But if anyone does have any questions down the road, I'm here, Laura's here. I mean, anyone that's part of this group is helpful and wants to support students. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out and ask those questions. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I think that's all. Laura, do you want to add anything or?
Just that I want to say that we get paid to answer your questions. We like doing it. We wouldn't be in these jobs if we didn't like helping people. So really, I just want to sort of back up what Karen was saying. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We really want to help.